could say literally whatever we want, and it probably won't go in, so that's fine. Hey, what's your love language, mate?
What's my love language? Physical touch and quality time.
Is that going to make the cut this week or what?
It can, if you want it to.
Yeah, I
Are
wanted
you
to.
are you going to be on one today, or are we going to be, on the money with this show?
Oh, I thought I was good last week.
You were good last week, but you're like Carlton. You have like these moments. You just lose concentration. It becomes.
To be fair, I didn't lose concentration for 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Anyway, hello everyone. Welcome to the second installment of the Biased Footy Show. We are pre-recorded.
The third installment of the Biased Footy Show.
Oh, last week counted? Didn't count?
The week before as well?
Yeah, I guess. No, it is episode 3, my bad, of the Biased Footy Show. Hey, I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit rattled.
So am I, don't worry.
Really rattled, like the Blues. Like, I get it, we can't get too high, can't get too low. I really do understand how important that is, but I'm really rattled. That was like a foundation rocking experience last week.
Yeah, that was we spoke about it when we did the show last week. We entertained the idea purely for entertainment purposes. And not because we actually thought it would happen. Yeah, I don't know if you remember that. We did entertain the idea of it. And it got shut down pretty quickly because we didn't really think that would be within the realm of possibility. And turns out they find a way.
Oh man.
They find a way, these boys, don't they?
Yeah, like we've got to try and not get too low, not get too. I really do understand the importance of it, but yeah, you just whatever, man. You know what's the worst part of it too? Like, it's a Thursday game, so like you got to wait. You got to wait it out.
I think that's almost the best. I think I say the best part. I think we were helped by some other teams having some pretty bad losses. So surprisingly, I agree with the sentiment that ours was definitely the worst. But when teams are being pumped by 80 and 90 and 75 points, the misery is shared, and the media scrutiny in particular is shared across a couple of teams, which I guess softened the blow by maybe 5%. So
maybe,
yeah.
Maybe. So, question.
Where do you want to start?
How many tips are you on? What'd you get last week?
Not a lot. 5, I think.
5.
For round 1, yeah, 5 out of 9 for round 1. Yeah.
Okay, same. I didn't get a tip right until the 5th game of round 1. I got the first 4 tips of round 1.
You did the Bombers?
I did. I told you I was going to.
Oh yeah, can we actually finish your point and then I'll come back to that?
Yeah, just crap. And then eventually I started getting on a roll, and in the last 5 games I got it right. I mean, I tipped the Giants. I was going to tip the Ds, but then I saw how many debutants, and so I went to the Giants.
See, this is where I really wish that we were live, because I was on the assumption that our tips that we say on this show were kind of binding. Yeah, we're binding and locked in as a part of a moral kind of agreement to the show, but clearly not.
Well, I had no idea that Melbourne were going to debut so many players. So
Tough.
Whatever.
Tough.
Look, the main thing is about the honesty. You got to be honest.
True.
And I'm being honest.
Sure. You change your mind. It's right. You're a coward.
Yeah.
You change your mind.
Things happen. Coward.
Yeah.
Those are fighting words. That's a fighting word.
That's right.
Call me a coward.
You live with that.
No, I'm not living with that. Don't call me a coward.
You change your tips after the fact.
No, I didn't change my tip after the fact. I was leaning towards Melbourne, and I thought they needed to win. And they nearly did. And then I saw 4 debutants, so I'm like, okay, well, this is the Giants.
Oh well, can't really do a lot about it now, can we?
Yeah, the nerve on you having the gall to call someone a coward is amazing.
Oh, me?
Yeah, you.
Okay, well, we're not going to get into this now. I feel like that's
okay.
Yeah,
so we'll just park that one. We'll play on, I guess, advantage.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So
sure.
we'll just move on from that one. So you're currently 2 tips ahead of me.
I am.
in the
Yeah,
yeah,
I am.
you did very
I've
well.
already Thank you. I've already done my tips for this week, so
Okay, I haven't.
I'm
Now,
confident.
do you want to agree that whatever we tip in this show, that's our tip? Like, is that really what you really want to do that? Like, is there no room for, if there's an injury or, things happen, is there no room for that?
I'll
It's a
compromise. I'll allow you one change.
No, as in let's make an agreement for the season. I think if you want to change your tip, you can do it. Obviously, what you're thinking about right now, we're filming this on Tuesday. Usually, this show will be live on a Wednesday. I think it's your tip. Whatever your tip, it's the end result that is what matters.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Well, I'll concede. Fine. I'll
As in,
concede.
like, I don't want to play games and be like, oh, I'm going to tip Melbourne, and then that might lull you into a sense of, oh, I'll
Yeah.
tip.
Okay.
I don't want to muck around like that.
I'll concede. I'll concede. Tip whoever and whenever. It's fine.
Okay. I mean, we'll share our thoughts on what we think will happen, but
Yeah.
yeah.
I think. I
Okay.
think. I I think make a conscious effort, however, to if you say, for example, we talk about the first game of the weekend, and I say, oh, I think Hawthorn are going to win, and then on Thursday at 7:05, I get this rush of blood to my head, and I change my tip to Carlton. You need to
Right.
acknowledge that on the next week's show. Try to at least
Acknowledge.
acknowledge that you
Acknowledge.
changed it after the fact.
Sure.
Okay, go.
Okay. Happy?
Sure.
Okay. So, well, we'll talk about the first game coming up this week because that'll lead into a little bit of our experience last week.
Yeah.
Carlton Hawthorn. Now, you and I, mate, we had a bit of we went out. You and I, we went out Friday night.
It was. I felt like I got asked out on a date by a girl. It felt really overwhelming at times, but no, it was a good experience Friday night. It was fun.
Can I just say we were in the it bay.
We were, there was some heavy
It was
hitters
the
sitting.
who's who of who in that
Yeah,
bay.
the heavy hitters were around, which was quite it was like playing a game of Where's Wally at slowly throughout the night. We found sitting there. So yeah, no, that was kind of a strange experience, but no, it was a well kind of a worthy night. I thought the game was good as well, which helped. But yeah, it was a
Yeah,
great night for footy.
it was a great night. So, Carlton Hawthorn, be honest. What's the vibe?
Shitting myself, like
Yeah, same.
like the most scared I've been because this has the potential of being like don't want to call it season over, but if we rock up and get pants by 80 points, I don't think there's a way back.
It's weird that we're in round 2 and it's got to respond after
Doomsday.
one of those.
Yeah.
I think Port Adelaide's in a similar boat. Who else? I think there's one more team. Maybe.
Freo.
Yeah,
God
Freo.
knows.
Oh, yeah, to an extent. Yeah, I would agree with that. But Carlton and Port in particular, it's you're a team that's got the finals top 4 aspirations. You've just embarrassing loss, and you're already digging into this kind of response week that's needed and batten down the hatches, no social media posts from the club, all of that, which, by the way, I think is the right thing to do. But yeah, it's just got an eerie feeling about it. Having said that, that's exactly when they win.
You reckon?
No.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Good to see you held your ground there. That's good. Look, I think this has. See, the loss last week has really warped my sense of kind of the way that I view footy conventions, and the reason why I say that is because I'm very much of the belief that once a team suffers a bad loss, it's very hard to get worse than that. But I
Mm,
didn't think that that last Thursday was even within the realm of possibility of happening. So if that can happen, then worse can clearly happen as well. So
yeah.
I'm just going into Thursday night with no confidence and not like yeah, I don't even know. I just know I think it's borderline a defense mechanism at this stage to just expect the absolute worst. And if we rock up and give it a shake and lose by 4 goals, and it's at least we didn't get embarrassed sort of thing. But that's the point. Why are we sitting here talking like that when it's Patrick Cripps' 30th birthday today? at the
Yeah.
time of recording. Like, why are we talking like that this far along, sort of thing?
Yeah, that's the thing as well. There's no room for that. A couple of years
Yeah,
ago, before we were pushing into that top four conversation, remember we were sort of there was a bit of rhetoric around, oh, if the Blues can start getting within 2-3 goals of
yeah.
these top four teams, and then you got to start beating them. So yeah, look, the Hawks didn't play their best football. Even Sam Mitchell said that, but they were efficient. We saw that firsthand. I think that probably the first half they were pretty good, and then the Bombers, to their credit, were solid, and then they just kind of got the job done and were efficient. They lost the key metrics that we are good at,
I was just
which
about to flag. Yeah, clearance is
yeah,
50 to 31 to the Bombers.
yeah. So there is a reality where the Blues can do that again, I think. But it's just a matter of what are the skills going to be like, what's the cohesion going to be like, and we'll see. Are you guaranteeing a tip? Are you locking in a tip? Are you definitely tipping the Hawks and not changing? You won't buckle?
Well, I'm adding one caveat to that, and that
Okay.
is, I think Paolo alluded to it last night Monday night on the show, and that was the return of the king.
Stop.
But he had like I agree. I agree. I absolutely agree with everything that you're about to say and everything that you're thinking. But if there's I honestly think he has the ability to drag a team over the line probably more than any other player in the competition.
He does. He certainly
And
does.
and not only his playing ability, but the ability that you know that he's there. That is the one 5% that's making me say we're not totally out of it, and I hate myself for thinking like that because it's one bloke and we're a team of 22 and we need to be better than this. But I think it's a credit more to Charlie than it is an indictment of the rest of the team, in my opinion.
Yeah, I have no doubt about Charlie's ability. I think he's a freak. I understand. He is, in many respects, the spirit of the group,
Yeah.
and he can kick 4 goals in a quarter. He can kick 4 goals in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
He can do all of those things. And I would say, even though he didn't have the most dominant year, 2024, there were 4 games in particular where I thought if he didn't play, we would have lost the game. So yes, I agree with that. First game back, not a full preseason. I'm just mindful.
No, of course. Of
I'm
course.
just
Yeah.
mindful of that, and it's a toxic trait that we have. Charlie's back, so everyone's like, oh, that's the difference. Now, I'm looking at Harry. I'm looking
Yes.
at some of these others. I'm looking at what happens under the pressure. I mean, Richmond turned up the heat. Hawthorn's going to turn up the heat at some point in this game. So,
I reckon they start with the heat at high. I reckon. I mean,
Hawthorn?
yeah. Well. I think the Hawthorn game that we played last year. I know we're going a little bit of tangent on this game, but I think it's kind of relevant. The Hawthorn game that we played last year, I think, and I think something I heard somewhere, it might have been someone said it on the fan cams on the show or whatever. I think it might have been Paolo again. Sam Mitchell said before that game last year that they will get at some stage during the game that they were going to be mentally tested. And it's about how they responded. At no point last year were Hawthorn mentally tested in that game against us.
Yeah.
Right at that point. So when that mentality is there for a game like that, when they already know what it's like, sort of thing, how that so easily they can translate that to Thursday night and be like, they were there for the killing there last year and we did that. Let's just go do that again, sort of thing. That's also giving me a little bit of a kind of fright.
Yeah. Tentatively, who are you tipping?
I need to stop tipping with my heart. So I think the Hawks.
I can see. I'm right now. I'm saying Hawthorn, but I can see myself changing my tip to Carlton Thursday morning. I can see myself doing it. I know what I'm like.
We're sick in the head.
Yep.
Totally. And of course, yeah.
Look, let's move on because we'll just talk about this game forever. And I'm really ready to not talk about Carlton for 40 minutes. It'd be great.
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. I like what you've done here. Footscray versus Collingwood.
Yes.
7:40 p.m. at the MCG Friday night. Go on. What have you got?
Well, they made the name change for the week. Obviously, they're 100th year in the league. I've seen a lot of discourse from Bulldog supporters. Keep the name or or keep it to the Dogs? What would you prefer if you were? I guess I'm looking at a neutral perspective. I like the name Footscray just because it sounds better than Western Bulldogs, but I also understand why they're doing the Western Bulldogs because they want to play games in Ballarat and marketing and to a brighter, wider kind of population. I get that, but also that's why I really like Fitzroy as well, and like
Yeah.
Footscray and like Carlton and Hawthorn and like suburbs. I don't know. That's just me.
I think it's a nice touch. I don't feel strongly either way, although I do think it's a pretty cool touch to have that
Yeah, I agree.
that name change for a week, whatever it is. That's fine. 100-year anniversary. Hey, this whole Jamara thing, it, it's is it derailing? Is it just? Do you think it's going to disrupt them in the long term for the season? Because I mean, I was at their game last week. I went to Marvel and watched them play against North, which we'll touch on
Congratulations.
later. I did tip the doggies, and they had all these injuries, they had all these outs, and they still had this cohesion, which was
Yeah.
impressive. The Jamara thing is, it's like the carrot that's dangling in front of you. You know how good he is and he's going to be, and the talent. It's a big unknown at this stage. The details about it are not public. There's rumors, but is it that big of a deal for them?
It's an interesting question. It's a fascinating talking point because obviously, like the rumors floating around about his relationship with certain senior players. Funnily enough, this morning when I woke up, I switched on Fox Sports News and there was footage of the dogs training, and Jamara was lining up on Rory Law, but they seemed best of mates. So I'm assuming that whether or not that was performative for the cameras, who knows? Whether or not that rumors can totally be squashed, who knows? Maybe he's at a point now where everything's fine. He just needs to build up some match sharpness and match conditioning. Who knows? But I also think it's because of it's similar to the Charlie discussion for Carlton, and that he's that X factor player that can just switch it on and kick 4, 5 goals in a half in a quarter and totally flip a game when he said, I think he's that good. So yeah, and obviously the rumors of him going to the Cats as well, which floated up yesterday. Um, I don't know if it's going to derail the season, perhaps, but I think they want it sorted rather than later, surely.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then there's the Pies who responded emphatically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So which one's the real Collingwood? I think what we saw last week was more the real Collingwood than the week before.
Well, I guess we'll find out on Friday.
Guess we'll find out.
I think, I think it's very much a wait and see because we've seen the Jekyll and the Hyde, and we don't know the real Collingwood yet. I don't think.
What are you leaning towards in this game?
I find it very funny that the Bulldogs have played their centenary game at centenary game, yeah, at the G against Collingwood. Like I get it, crowds, etc. But surely you'd want to win, right? And I don't think playing them at the G's that good for them to win, considering. So yeah, that's bizarre.
I find it hard to tip against Collingwood at the MCG.
So
Yeah, as just a rule of thumb. Like obviously you can tip against them. I'm pretty confident in saying I'll be tipping Collingwood this week and won't be changing.
I agree. Just to touch on the first dot point I've got down on the run sheet. Do anniversary games, milestone games, do they kind of tick the boxes for you, or is it just like any other game, like just got to rock up sort of thing?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's a nice. I mean, they'll obviously have activations and things on game day that'll commemorate the history and all of that. Maybe as a Carlton supporter, because I'm so used to these games being poor. I mean, we saw the Hawthorn debacle last year in a 150-year anniversary game, that type of thing. Maybe I'm just scarred. Maybe that's a question for supporters of the clubs. Do they mean anything? I don't know if they mean anything. I don't think they'll look back and say, oh, the 100th year anniversary game against the Pies. They might. I don't know. I just think we're in a different generation now. I don't know if the honor is what it used to be because there's so many elements to the game now and so on and so forth. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think I guess it's different when I'm looking at it from a fan perspective and looking from a player perspective of if they're going to be motivated more by the fact that it's an anniversary game. I don't think that's right. I think each player should, if they're professional athletes, have the mental ability to get up the same amount for every game. And
You know what? Question:
play
which
into that.
club, which team do you watch that makes you think, wow, they really are connected to their identity?
As in the club's identity
Yep. So, I mean, I think of the Swans, the Bloods
and the
that
Bloods.
usually,
Yeah.
like which other clubs are really, in your view, linked, connected, act, speak, behave, linked to an identity?
Well, I think it depends on how far you stretch back the identity, and like what you would kind of identify it as in a sense. But the Hawks are
Mm,
probably the most cohesive club, not team, club from top to bottom, total messaging, total kind
mm,
of external view, internal view, the way they play. Everything is, I think I've written down in the notes, Showtime Hawks. I think that's kind of an apt way of describing them. Everything about them is modern, it's flashy, it's embracing personalities. It's 2025, if we're being in
mm.
all honesty. I mean, they walked out to Fiend on Friday night, which was
Fascinating.
brilliant, awesome. I love it. Embrace it, sort of thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so probably the Hawks. I'm just trying to think. Like that's pretty much it. I don't think it's kind of it's actually ironic because a lot of the teams that have sort of this um kind of inbuilt club identity probably aren't performing to that level. Like North and the Shinboners probably aren't there, and they haven't been over the last couple of years. The Bloods have been. I mean, last year they were good, but they kind of fell away when they probably should have tapped into that a little bit more in the final series, perhaps. So yeah, it's a fascinating talking point. Very interesting
Yeah.
question.
Let's move along because then we get to Saturday, 1:20 p.m. at the MCG. It's the Bombers and the Crows. I agree with your sentiments. You thought the Bombers were okay. I thought they were also okay.
Yeah, I thought they showed a bit. That they weren't horrendous.
Yeah.
Like they weren't even when it got out to maybe like 4 or 5 goals, maybe 6 goals halfway through the second and third quarters. They weren't. It wasn't like they were totally being outplayed. It just felt like there was always that 5% off, right? I wrote down here Jack Hall was very impressive. I thought he ran the game for them. I think he had 36 touches and dominated the inside game. Kako very impressive in his first goal was pretty cool. Getting out the back. So yeah, second game in a row at the G. Adelaide probably don't travel as well as what they probably should and what they would need to do if they're going to be a top 8, top 6 side. It's going to be fascinating on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah. What did you make of the Jordan Ridley incident?
Well, it's got 3, well, scripture wise,
Sorry,
and
yeah,
yeah,
scrimshaw on
yeah,
Jordan Ridley.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, which has been and will have been challenged by the time this has been uploaded. So we don't know the result at the time, but look, I think when the player goes out with concussion, you're treading a very fine line. Um,
Mm,
that's immediately severe impact, and very rarely, if something's severe impact, it's also not a suspendable act. So I
yeah.
guess it's interesting. I guess we could probably also come on to that talking point when we touch on North and Jackson Archer as well a little bit later on.
Yeah. Well, the Bombers will lose Langford, who is a leader down there
Yeah, and
in that
probably
forward line.
the most experienced forward.
Yeah, and that's important. I mean,
Very.
I love Caddy. I think Harry Jones, I like the way he goes about it, but you definitely need some experience down there, especially when you lose Stringer. So see how they adjust. And then the Crows, man, their
Impressive.
slingshot style. I watched the whole thing. Like I watched
Yeah.
the all 4 quarters against the Saints. And I mean, I like some of these. I mean, there were so many players that played well, but I like the Michelini, Josh Worrell, but
Well,
they're sort of overshadowed by the Saligos and the Dawsons and then like the Laird. And like, yeah, they were super sharp. But natural question is about what do they do when they leave Adelaide? And that's the question.
yeah, well, that's obviously what plagued them in 2023 when they probably should have made finals. they just weren't able to win away from home. Kind of the Gold Coast complex as well. Right down here, the three-headed monster up front with Phil Thorpe, Walker, and Fogarty.
Mm,
Kicked 8 goals between them. Walker came off at half time, probably for more of a precaution. I mean, they had the game wrapped up after the second quarter, let's be honest. So, obviously, no Ridley. Reed kind of still coming into his own, and then Ben McKay didn't have an amazing game on Friday. It's going to be interesting because if they can get a hold of them, if they can get a hold of another defense 2 weeks in a row, they're going to build confidence in their ability to function as a forward line. And then it doesn't matter
yeah,
who they come up against. If they've got that confidence, Philthorpe looks ridiculous. Like he looks so powerful and big and assertive and dominant. Fogarty doesn't miss when he gets a chance, and Walker has the class we all know. It's going to be scary if they start to get confidence as that trio forward of the ball when one moves
mm,
up, two stay back, or two move forward, and their running patterns are on point. That's going to be scary, like really scary.
very much so. Who are you leaning towards?
I think the Crows could win.
I think I'm gonna give the Crows the chance to tip them away from home. I think I will do that.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Then we go to Adelaide Oval. My man, my boys responding. The Power and the Tigers. Wait, can we just start with Richmond? We're all angry about Carlton. Fair play. What a
That
generational win.
that is, yeah. I'm so. You know what? I'm actually. You know what? I'm not. I was going to say something and I disagree, but my sentiment still remains. What I was going to say was, I'm actually more jealous of that win than some of the flags. For the reason being that we have been in that position for basically my entire lifetime to do that win in round one, and we haven't been able to do it. And they fucking did it. So fair play. Fair
Imagine
play.
being a Tiger supporter and you're down 41 and it's like, oh, I knew this would happen. And throughout the week, you haven't let any Carlton supporter say, oh, we might lose because you just know you're not. And then the kids, man, the kids. And I feel like in I don't know if they're in I don't know what they are, man. Like the word rebuild just gets thrown around. But when you're in that next era phase
Yeah,
of
when
your
you're bottoming out,
development,
yeah.
to get a win like that, it just it's the standard now that you set for that group. It's so good for them. It really is.
Yeah, it's yeah. I mean, if you just replace Khan with any other team in the comp, and I'm sitting there watching it as like basically becoming a Richmond supporter, I can assume I'd be like go like kind of riding them home all the way, sort of thing. But I mean, it just happened to be against us, which is just so typical. But yeah, I mean, the way that like Lawler, the way that he stood up and was just so clean straight from the first bounce, and then celebration for the winner, Seth Campbell doing a somersault backflip, like it's just it's you can't help. I think looking at it from a non-calm perspective, which I think we all struggle to do at times, and I think rightly so, it's a pretty cool win for them.
Yeah.
Pretty cool, very cool, in fact.
Are they a chance to beat Port Adelaide?
Well, this is the thing. You've got to ride the momentum, right? So you've got to kind of push through. It's at Adelaide Oval, so they're going to have a different test going to enemy territory. Probably the first time that um, a lot of those players would have played in a hostile kind of environment that Adelaide Oval will probably be. Who knows? Who knows?
I don't think I could tip Richmond. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do
I
it.
I haven't tipped them. I've tipped Port, but also if you're going to come up against any team, a team that should be belted by 91, that's already on the canvas. If they rock up there and put that pressure on early, and put that seed of doubt into the Port Adelaide players' minds early, who knows?
Do you think the coaching decision from Port had an effect on their performance last week? Or is it just one game? Can't make a conclusion yet.
How long do you want to talk about? How long do you want to talk about your boys? Right. So we brought up the conversation last week of what does kind of the succession plan mean mentally for the group. I raised the point saying that it would hard to be get behind the coach who you know is not going to be there next season. You raised the counter of you know that it's going to end this year, empty the tank, you've got closure,
Closure.
sort of thing. Yeah, I don't want to say I'm right because I don't think it's a right or wrong, but you could kind of tell that they weren't there on Saturday night. Collingwood were just dominant from start to
Mm.
finish. So they have to respond. And I mean, question without notice, I guess. I think we kind of answered this last week, or maybe spoke about it last week. But do you see a world in which the succession plan is fast tracked?
Yeah, I mean, anything's possible. It would be very embarrassing for Port as a club if they were to then do that. That would make.
Absolutely.
I mean, if they were to make that move, that would be
Conceding.
conceding a bit, and I don't think that they'd be in the top 4 and make that move. That would generally mean that they're not going very well, right?
Yeah, it would
Yeah,
be. Yeah, for sure.
yeah. That could be a lever to pull at some point in the year. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I guess it's interesting because what would you say is Ken's main strength as a coach?
Well, his experience,
Yeah,
you know, how many situations has he been in as a coach
yeah,
during game, pre-game, post-game? I think that's his strength. I think he has a. I mean, I know it's hard to say it now because they got belted last week, but I think he has a really good hold with the group. I think they have a lot of respect for him, and yeah,
yeah. So yeah, that was the rhetoric that kind of I think came in the fallout of the game. That if a coach's main strength, in a sense, is their man management, I think Ken is quite clearly that motivator. You can tell he wears his heart on his sleeve, and we saw that in the semi final last year. He's a real kind of heart on the sleeve kind of guy.
yeah.
If their group is dropping the ball like that in the first game of his last season, it's not great signs.
Mm. All right, I will definitely tip Port. I won't be
Yeah,
changing.
in saying all of that, Port should win, but then again,
Yeah,
Carlton should have won last week, so we could come
yeah.
here having egg on our face again in 7 days' time.
Yes. Okay. So St Kilda, Geelong, Saturday night at Marvel. Why don't we start with Geelong? Did you watch them last week?
I did watch them last week. Yeah,
I just love Geelong. I was so off the mark with what I thought about Bailey Smith.
well, you thought
I
it'd take them
was,
a few weeks.
yeah, absolutely. But just, yeah, I just was waiting for him to be managed or whatever the case may be. And Chris Scott did allude to the fact that he still will be managed throughout the year. But yeah, there was a fresh energy about them. Very impressive. And they come up against the Saints at Marvel, where the Saints love a Marvel game.
Yeah, well, I think they've beaten in the last 2 years in a row at Marvel. Late on in the year, last year they ran over the top of them, and then 2023 was their winter skill final. So they have a good track record against the Cats at Marvel. But I guess it'll be interesting to see whether or not that can continue. I mean, yeah, to touch on that Bailey Smith, he looked he looked good. He looked explosive. He looked quick. He looked agile. Ball
Strong,
was
man, through the
strong.
hips.
Yeah, yeah. He looked every part of the player that we thought he was going to be in his first couple of years. And I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I'm not going to sit here and tell. I'm not going to sit here and try and reinvent the wheel by saying I think it's best that he plays in his actual position of a midfielder rather than being forced on a wing or a half forward. I think he's the perfect example of like an outside midfielder, like a person that starts in the middle, but you use his run, use his carry, use his speed to get on the outside rather than playing him on a wing or on half forward. He looked great. He looked brilliant.
Mm,
And the Saints didn't didn't look good at all. So leaky,
no.
especially in the defensive side of 50. So leaky.
Yeah, leaky. I mean, they came up against Adelaide, which is always very tough. They are one of the few teams that have looked exactly like what they did in the preseason.
Yeah. Yeah. Just not. Yeah. It's interesting. It's tough because would you say they're in a rebuild?
Saints?
Yeah.
No. No, I would say that they're looking to push for the 8 this year. I mean, granted, they're missing,
A lot.
a good chunk of their best 10.
Yeah.
To be,
I'll quickly
to be
try
fair.
and find that injury list. But yeah, it's a fair few players that will
Yeah.
definitely be in the starting team.
And they're still in that part of their development where they can't afford to be missing that many of their stars. I mean, they don't have too many stars, but I mean, I think they are missing some really important pieces. I like my man Boyd. Oh, that's the other thing. Boyd, the South Australian ruck. I liked him. And then
No,
danger
Marshall.
signs with Marshall, man. He got
Yeah,
hurt.
yeah.
That's like is he their best player? Or is Wanganeen Miller their best player? Or is it Sinclair? Still
I love Mike Miller. I think he's a freak. But
same.
yeah, he's so good. Their injury list. These are all of the players on their injury list, and I can tell you right now, all of them, if not 90% of them, in their starting 22. So Dan Butler, Paddy Dow, Liam Henry, Dougal Howard, Max King, Mitch Owens, Philippou, Sharman, and Alex Tyree, who was the
Okay.
draft
There you
pick
go.
this year.
Yep.
So, like, that's what three. That's 10 players on the injury list, 9 players on the injury list, and maybe the Shaman play probably if everyone's fully fit. Tyru, don't really know, but still, point being, they're 9 of their best 28, 29 players. That's a fair chunk.
Can Ross Lyon sell the story and get him over the line?
Probably not. No.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
I don't think so. No.
I don't think so either. So you'll tip Geelong for sure?
Yes. I will tip
Because
Geelong.
right now I've only come across 1 or 2 games which are like 50-50-ish.
So far,
Yeah.
which are
Well, the Carlton game could go either way with our tip. And then is there room for Essendon to be tipped? It'd be ballsy.
it would. It'd probably be a big point of difference in a tipping comp.
Yeah. Well, this one won't be. Brisbane, West Coast,
No.
Sunday, 1:10, Gabba. Is it just pack
Are
it
we
up?
talking? We're talking triple digits, or probably not. But pretty convincing.
Oh, it'll be. You would think. It'd be
You
pretty
reckon? Triple digits.
comprehensive. I don't know about triple digits,
Yeah.
but comprehensive.
Yeah. I don't think there'll be
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be much contest. Brisbane just kept on keeping on. And I mean credit to them because they had obviously Cameron go down before the game, Lohman go down quite early. Thankfully that's
Oh,
not
yeah.
serious. Only 2 weeks max. They said for Cobra Kai, one of my boys, love him. So that's 2 of their better small forwards out, and they've managed to fight away and battle through Sydney. Credit to them. They were great,
Mm.
and they kind of, especially with the leading. I mean, we spoke about it briefly last week, especially with the leading that they've had. Especially with the leading
Slow.
that they've had. Yeah, I literally. That's why I said it again.
Slow.
Especially with the lead-in that they've had early on in the season, in the year, obviously with their cancelled game. Credit to them, they looked good. And Levi Ashcroft, what a debut as well. 28 touches, couple clearances, freak.
I'll just be tipping the Lions, and we'll move on from this game.
I agree.
North, Melbourne, and Melbourne at Marvel. Hey man, I went and watched it. I was there up close and personal.
Yeah, what did
Marvel
you think?
Stadium. I thought I was picking. I was a bit. When you get FOMO when you're going to one game and there's a game happening at the other ground, and you think, oh, you're going to miss out on the good game.
Yeah.
Who would have thought that North and the Doggies would be a better game than Collingwood Port at the G? I think I said Collingwood Port would be game of the round last week.
You did, yeah. How ironic. But yeah, North, nearly.
They will win games. I was up and I liked what I saw from North.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were. They were there or thereabouts. Obviously, with a couple of their kind of debutants for the club, obviously Darling Parker and Daniel, all floating in around there. Probably should have capitalised on a few opportunities kind of later in the third to maybe give themselves a little bit more of a chance. But Dogs showed their class late on or early on in the fourth and kind of just flexed their muscles a bit.
Yeah. Jackson Archer, you watch that incident?
Yeah, I want to discuss this. I actually do. I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to bring it up as well. I think I'm in the minority.
Yeah.
Because I actually don't know your thoughts on this. And I tweeted about it as well. I'm in the minority. I don't think he should have been contesting the contest like that.
I agree. I think it was reckless the way he came in, and it gave.
Because that was sickening. Like, that could have been really, really bad.
Yeah. No, that was. That was awful. I think I saw Jimmy Bartel talking about it in like, the contact below the knees rule, and we just find ourselves in this gray area. But I think careless is actually the word. The way he entered that contest was
careless,
careless.
reckless. Yeah,
He created a greater risk of that collision happening by the way he entered that contest.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So, oh man, the sound. When sometimes things happen on a field and like the sound of the
Yeah,
collective groan. Oof. Yeah, it
yeah,
was.
yeah, not good at all. And I'm actually glad Fox Footy showed very minimal replays because that could have had very bad potential. Well, my kind of perspective on it is that I understand the contact below the knees, but I was always of the opinion that the contact below the knees was to prevent the person the person leaving their feet to slide into the player
Mm,
who's standing, as opposed to Cleary, I think his name, yeah, Cleary, who had possession of the ball and was in the contest first, as opposed to preventing a bloke just running full steam ahead of a bloke who's already on the ground.
yeah.
I think that's the area which I look at it and be like, I understand the contact below the knees, the rule and the suspend, like the rule and the free kick, but the bloke was already on the ground. It would be like if a Patrick Cripps is on the ground winning a hardball and Hawthorn, like, no, let's just use Ginnivan, just cause. Ginnivan just runs in and just runs straight into his side without even trying to pick the ball up. Like, that wouldn't be contact below the knees because Cripps is already there with the ball on the ground.
Yeah.
So he's the contest, and the other person's coming in across. That's the way that I look at it. And yeah, I'm in the minority, and I think maybe not a 3-week suspension, but I think I think Archer, if you had to say someone was in the wrong,
Mm.
I think it is Jackson Archer.
Well, that is the classic example. That is severe impact. I think that
Oh,
grading is
absolutely,
fine.
absolutely. Yeah.
I think careless for sure.
And
So
then
whatever
fine.
happens with that happens. My other question about this, man, it was so hot in there. It was a hot box in Marvel.
I was going to ask this because obviously you were there and it was 37 degrees. How was it?
Mm. Look, sat in the seats and then moved up to an air conditioned, box after.
Okay. So behind glass, right? So we see. So yeah, okay, that's right. So you've shown your true colors. Yeah, you really, really lost touch with the common man. That's so fine. That is so
But
fine.
it was hot, man. It was
You
hot.
know what? You know what? At least you're upfront and honest about it, guys. At least you're upfront and honest about it. So guys, the guys watching kind of in the chat now. At least he's being honest. At least he's being upfront. At least he's telling us that he's lost touch with the common man and has his god complex, which is totally fine.
Look, it was hot, uncomfortable, and I do wonder, is there scope for last minute like obviously you can't predict the weather and you make these arrangements. To have the roof open, it means it requires a certain organization, plan. There's all sorts of contingencies that have to be taken into account to have the roof open, I've learned. And so I guess my question is there a reality where we get to the morning of a game, we know it's going to be hot and we know it's not going to rain? Can we change the decision on the spot? Which it's tough because you don't know. We're in Melbourne overnight. It could drizzle and there's all sorts of things that could happen. But it was uncomfortably hot inside there. Like it was, yeah. And I guess it's not going to be that way. Most of the season is going to be colder weather. So there is that. Maybe overreacting because it was just hot on Saturday. But I mean, if you were there for 4 quarters in that hot box, it would have been very uncomfortable.
Yeah, no one has the luxury to sit behind glass. Look, I think it's hard because it's never going to get to 37 degrees. You don't think for the foreseeable.
Yeah, I think
For
that's
yeah,
it, right? Like, yeah.
surely you'd think unless Saturday storms or like becomes hot for whatever reason. But then again, you talk about the weather. I mean, 12 hours later or maybe 16 hours later, I lost power at my house because of the storm and the rain and the wind and all that stuff. So just shows how volatile this city can be with its weather. However, I do agree, especially for night games where sun and shadows don't become an issue, especially from a broadcast perspective. I think there needs to be some flexibility
Yeah.
to allow for better playing conditions and better viewing conditions because they want more people to go to the games, make it comfortable for people to go to the
Yeah.
games as best as possible.
Are you definitely tipping the D's?
I'm tipping North.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm
I'm
tipping North.
undecided. Honestly, I'm undecided.
I think. Well, I mean, we haven't really spoken about these. They looked great on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, they
On Sunday
did.
afternoon, I should say. They looked really good, and they looked like a team that. I mean, Brad Green said at in their BNF or press release function, whatever it was, gone down to Viney, Oliver, and Petrarca, and that's what happened. And track 27-2, Oliver was good, Gorn was great. Had the game on his boot late on and couldn't quite convert, and then going up the other. It's actually quite funny. I saw on Twitter. Gorn completely dominated the whole game, and then it was his direct opponent up the other end in Lockie Cave getting on the end of a kick in and kicking the winner. Just shows how cruel this game can be sometimes. But yeah, I think Melbourne will be fine. That
Yeah,
performance has put a lot of questions in my mind to ease. That'll be fine. That'll be good.
yeah, about their cohesion. Well, I watched Adrian and the guys at the debrief. I watched their post game video, their reaction. You can just sense like they had a sense of pride about that
Yeah,
performance. I mean, they lost, so you're never fully happy, but they were pretty. I think they were relieved.
yeah, yeah.
I mean,
I
Carlton
sense
right
that as
now,
well.
we've got this sense of dread. Is something bad on the horizon? I think the D's had a bit of the fans had a bit of space for that. Like, is it
Yeah,
all really okay? But hey, man, they actually did love each other. They played like they loved each other.
their four
Oh my
debutantes as
goodness.
well. I thought were quite
Oh,
good,
oh my
especially
goodness.
for all
The
the
blue,
ball.
mate, the Blues hate
Uh,
each other. They're not
yeah,
friends.
check the
Oh
Instagram.
no.
Check the
Oh,
Instagram following quick.
oh no, 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 no. Okay. Don't worry, it's just one game.
It's just one game.
Okay. Then the final game, Fremantle Sydney. This is a good matchup.
Great matchup. Very good matchup.
6:10 p.m. for us on the East Coast.
The
So
Victoria
3:10
side.
p.m. West Coast. I like what you've got here. Arguably a must-win for both teams. Let's unpack that. Why do you say? Well, are we already at that must-win stage?
Well, I think they're a victim of their performance, of their results actually so far. Because you look at the Swans, they um are very gallant in defeat on Saturday afternoon. Different circumstances, they go on and win that game, right? So I think a lot of Sydney supporters can sit there and go, lost by 3 points against the reigning premiers. Not the worst result, not the best, but we're okay. And even the week before against the Hawks, I thought they were pretty good. Probably didn't help that the rain came late on and didn't allow them to get back into the game. So they've had two losses, but two okay losses. Freo have had one loss, but barring a 8-minute patch from Murphy Reid, which was one of the most exhilarating passages of play I've ever seen. Like, that was ridiculous. Um, they looked quite poor and quite um, open and exposed, something that we don't see a lot from Freo. They normally, if they lose maybe 60 to 75, not 80 to 148 or whatever the hell they
Yeah.
conceded.
The Murphy Reid purple patch
Ridiculous.
is a win for the stop taking players off the field when they kick goals camp.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Because he just knew he was in flow state. He just knew where to be, when to be there. Mind you, he barely touched the ball
Yeah,
prior to that quarter.
so he only had like 50 AFL fantasy points or something like that because he, with all due respect to the kid, had a very poor game leading into that point. I think he was on like minus 10 AFL fantasy points or whatever, which is horrendous. And then he just got the first, and then got the
Yeah.
second, and then the third and the fourth, and it was just, yeah, awesome. Like,
Yeah.
so cool. Like, such a cool moment to
Stop
watch.
taking players off the field when they kick a goal because you never know what can happen.
Yeah.
So
Especially with,
when you assess Freo, let's be honest, it was him that brought them back into the game.
Yeah.
That's I would say you can't rely on that every week from
No.
Murphy Reid or even any individual at Freo. So does it gloss over their team performance a bit? Like, yet they showed fight, but he really single-handedly dragged them back into the game.
Well, I mean, if we go back and look at the score from that game, so they ended up losing by 78 points, and they ended up losing by 78 points, and it was 60 just before halftime. So they
Yeah.
got it to a 10-goal deficit, and then the purple patch got them back to 21 at 3/4 time, and then they ended up losing by 78. They copped 10 goals. 10 goals 3 to 1 goal 0 in the
Mm.
last quarter. So realistically, if we're going to be honest, it was a 10-minute patch where they kicked 6 goals, 7 goals,
Mhm.
whatever it was.
Yeah.
6 goals would have been. So I think holistically, there's some question marks there for sure.
I think this will be a draw.
Really? Like
Oh,
last year?
we sh
Not like last year,
oh,
nearly like last year.
we
Yeah.
should add a draw element to this show. I feel like you get 3 guesses.
Per round. Or no,
No, per year.
per year.
Mm. No, but we need to have like a prize. No. I don't know. Whatever. I think this will be a draw. I don't know why.
Can you tip a draw? No.
You can't. I'm pretty sure if a draw happens and no matter who you tipped, you get the tip.
Yeah.
How about this? If you call a draw, you get 3 chances in a season. If you call a draw and it happens, you get an extra 5 points.
Yeah, I
1
think
point.
that's fine. No, not 1 point.
Not 1?
No, it's got to be more than 1.
Okay. Well, what's a draw
5.
worth?
5. I think a draw was 5.
Okay. But you only get 3 guesses.
Yeah, but we need to keep track of this.
Oh, mate, nothing will get past you and nothing will get past me. So I think we'll be right.
Okay, good. So but this is something that we can't change after the fact. Then to formally lock in a draw.
I will formally say this will be a draw.
Interesting. Okay, I like that.
Yeah. But obviously I need to tip one of the teams in
Yeah.
the app. So whatever. But I think I will tip Rio. But I do think this will be a draw.
I tipped Rio as well, and I don't think it'll be a draw.
Okay. Yeah. Righto.
Very interesting.
Very
So,
interesting stuff.
obviously, heading into our first week of bye, so the Suns and the Giants aren't playing, which is a shame because we don't get to talk about 2 of the better teams on the weekend, I thought.
Well, I mean, I've got Noah Anderson as my captain in my fantasy team,
Oh, yeah?
which I know you love me talking about. So what we
Yeah.
decided to do is use the averages of the Suns players for 2024, and that's the score that they get. So yeah, got to weigh up what to do there. But yeah, thanks for asking.
Wait, what?
So the Suns players are not playing this week.
Yeah.
I have Anderson, Ainsworth, McAndrew in the team, in my draft team. But it's like, how can you score them? Like, what do they do? You know what I'm saying?
0.
It's like, and well, why?
Because they don't play.
No, but no, you have to count their score because that's right, because their game that they
Because they cancel. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, because they cancelled their opening round game, so it's kind of screwed the league a little bit. So we decided that their averages for last year would be the score for this week.
Nice. Okay. Great. Awesome. Good
So
stuff.
it's tough. It's hard,
Yeah.
yakka.
Yeah, I can tell you were loving the draft stars on Thursday night, on Friday night.
I love a bit of draft stars, man. I do.
I don't even know what it is.
I think you would love it.
It said too many numbers. Too
not.
many.
It's not.
It's way too many numbers.
It's
too
not.
many numbers. It's too many numbers.
It's just not. Unless you're doing Super Coach, which is hard to like get your mind around Super Coach AFL fantasy points.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll just stick to the traditional methods of.
It's so niche that I think you would get around it. Anyway, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not trying to convince you to play. But I do love it. What other issues are on your mind around the league this week?
I was going to say, because they're not playing, just quick on the Suns and the Giants. Both had good wins. I thought Finn Callahan's played late was, if for that end-to-end goal, he's so good. Poor St Kilda, man. Everyone thought that they were going to pay overs, and then all of a sudden he's had 2 ridiculous games, and everyone's thinking, God, he's worth more than that, if anything. He was so good.
The run and carry is back.
Yeah.
In the league.
Yeah.
The run and carry, the handball chains, it's back.
Especially,
and that's what I took from the round. That's what it's well and truly back, and that's where I have concerns about Carlton because it's kicked to a contest.
kick along down the line.
But the pendulum swings. You know,
does.
the pendulum swings.
Was the method of
So,
victory in round 1, 2024 the same as grand final weekend 2024? Probably not.
so
Probably not.
that's where it's interesting, you know?
It's I think it's just gonna play your player strengths. Just gonna play to player strengths,
True.
which is
You have your list, you play to your strengths of your list, and you just hope for the best.
yeah. I don't think actually now that you mentioned Carlton and play to the strengths of the list, what do we think about the ex Carlton performances? So your Matt Kennedys and your Matt Owies. Take much note. You were there firsthand to watch
Oh,
Van
yeah,
Van
I
play.
mean, Kennedy for me played the way Kennedy played at Carlton. He's solid half forward, like, thought he was, yeah, solid. Always, I didn't think was like literally both of them played typical games that they would both
Yeah,
play.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm not so caught up on those two anymore. I think it's
I don't
compounded because
care.
Jagger's not playing and like yeah, all of that. I'm probably more thinking, all right, you made changes to the list, cool. I'm a little bit more concerned at this stage, like what's going on with the development of Moya, Wilson, Lemmy, Binns.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see. I'm assuming there'll be mass changes, surely. I mean, this will come out after the teams come out. So
Yeah,
if you, yeah, who knows? The chat will know. We don't. I assume there'll be at least some.
they will.
Um, yeah. Any other? I mean,
No,
well,
no.
while we're here, the the breaking Carlton story from last night from your mate.
Sammy, it's not great.
Look, yeah,
It's not great.
it's definitely news, but don't kind of
You know,
project it
can
like
I
that.
be dead honest? Like whether it's McClure or Channel 9, whatever, I love when they do it because what mainstream media is doing is just pushing people away further and further. Like the more of that happens,
Yeah,
better
I
for
guess
me,
yeah,
better for us. Like great. If they want to clickbait and continue to go down that path, then like awesome. Yeah, they would have got a little sugar hit to start the show, but then that would have turned to frustration. And mate, I just say let them keep doing what they're doing because it's outdated tactics and it's just pushing the fans closer to the fan channels because we want to get. I mean, Paul Sebastiani and I were on the Blue Ball show for 2 hours.
yeah. Also,
Carlton
yeah,
for 2 hours. Like you get your fix and then some. So
yeah, yeah. So
whatever.
that was a that was a fun 15 minutes when the tweet dropped and then everyone switched on. That was great. It was good fun.
Yeah,
I found it entertaining because I kind of had this inkling that whatever story that it was either going to be not important or something we already knew,
yeah,
and turned out it was the former. So
yeah.
good stuff.
So yeah, Ari, I'll speak to you soon. We might go to another game soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, am I getting did I with my performance like acceptable enough on Friday night?
Yeah, I thought you were dressed well.
Thank you.
I liked the shirt. I liked the combo. Yeah, I like what you brought to the table. Good vibes, good chat, good crack. Um,
You're welcome for that one.
if anything, I tailed off. I was exhausted. It was a
Yeah,
big day.
do you want to bring that up or
Sure. I mean, I was up early. I played tennis in the morning. I was exhausted, and no, sorry, that was Friday. Oh, Friday was day after, like, game day, Carlton. So I was exhausted. Mate, I took back to back to back to back phone calls from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. with a 1 hour gap at 12:30 for a meeting. And then it was just like damage control is everything.
like I said, you're the emotional beacon of support for the fan base.
I think we all are for each other.
Maybe you more so.
Yeah. So I was honestly exhausted and I was withering away. And yeah, you know what, Ari, I'm sorry. I left you. I shouldn't have. I tried. I was done.
That's right. You lasted a quarter more than other people, so that's fine.
What did you
Um,
do? What did you do in the fourth quarter?
I sat and enjoyed the game.
Did you make friends?
Uh, yeah.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed the game.
We will unpack this offline.
I enjoyed the game. Very good.
Amazing. All right. I think that's us.
Yes, that was good. I enjoyed
Ladies
that.
and gents, thanks for tuning in.
We'll be back.
Have a great one. And we'll see you live next week, Wednesday. So,
Yes. Can't wait.
Ari, thank you.